what do you define as happiness? What is happiness? What was taught to you in terms of how you arrive at happiness? What happiness is supposed to be, or what happiness isn't? And look at that and ask yourself, is this still true for me? Perhaps you were taught that the idea of happiness is you get married, you have children, and that's it. That's contentment. And you're like, yeah, that's not for me. And you're caught between what you want and what your society wants you to be, or what, familial conditioning has been. And you are looking at that and you're saying, I don't think I want to live the rest of my life based on what someone else thinks I should do or should or shouldn't be. You are redefining your own concepts of happiness, pile number. Hello, beautiful soul. Welcome to my channel. My name is Joanna. If this is your first time joining me, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your energy. And because this is mostly channeled transmission, I am sharing these higher frequencies with you, and you're sharing your energy with me. And the purpose of me connecting with these higher frequencies is to bring forth information that will help us better understand or make more sense of out of this process of ascension, which we are in right now. And if you are listening to this, you likely are quite aware of it. In fact, as a soul, it's very likely your main mission for being here on planet Earth in order to help planet Earth transcend. Yes, in her own transition, which is an ascension. If you are here as a continuing viewer, thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for coming back. I would love for you to click the like button or share this video with others. Comment if you feel so inclined. It helps this channel grow and helps this information be more out there. And the more people realize their potential, the more we create a better world for ourselves. So that is what my intention is as Joanna. In this particular session, if I could call it that, we will be talking about what's likely to come up next. And we will be looking at it from a global perspective, from a macro perspective to a micro perspective. So the first few minutes we'll be talking about what humanity can expect as a whole, and then we will move to 3 different more specific messages that are likely to transpire in your life going forward. So whatever you are drawn to, whichever pile, there's likely a message there for you. And you may be drawn to more pile than one. Each one will offer a bit more clarity perhaps on a certain subject that you have or that you may have. So globally, what are we going through as humanity? What is it that we are experiencing right now? Well, you could say that we are experiencing a lot of reshuffling. The world is reshuffling itself in terms of its belief systems and its structures. And because of that, certain structures need to fall down in order for other stronger structures to be built. If there are 2 opposing structures built within if we have 2 opposing structures, it doesn't really work because we get a lot of I want to say the word resistance. And resistance is a theme and is a key component of this restructure. But going back, if we have 2 opposing structures, then we are caught between the 2. When we are caught in something, we are effectively not free. We are caught. So we could say that right now we are caught in our own belief systems. And these belief systems, these structures, which have very strong foundations, are being uprooted right now. And as these structures and foundations are being uprooted, because they were the source of our mental safety and stability, and physical and emotional, but mental, we as a collective may feel slightly out of balance, and that affects our sense of safety and security. So there is almost like a wave of insecurity washing over planet Earth. But it's not a new insecurity. This is an old insecurity that has been lying dormant, if you will, because, can we say it in a different way? We as humanity are realizing just how much in fear we live every single day. And it's not that we haven't lived in fear. We are beginning to realize, becoming conscious, just how much fear we live in every day. And this fear is very much tied to the strong structures that we have been holding on to. So as these old structures are falling down, our sense of safety and insecurity will feel amplified. Okay? And that's because we're in this space in between. We are not in the new yet, and we are letting go of the old, but also resisting letting go of the old. So you are obviously already know that the world is experiencing a lot of chaos. And this chaos can be felt everywhere. I'm asking, well, was there no chaos in the past? I feel there was chaos. Some 10,000 years ago, something happened where humanity as it was known somehow collapsed, and its consciousness went down, if you will, to 3D, and 3D is all about physicality. And right now, we are ascending, and we are approaching a new threshold. And this threshold is about becoming more spirit in tune rather than just living in physicality. And our structures, our belief systems are mostly built on the concept of our physicality. In other words, without our physicality, our belief systems are very different. For the most part, they don't even exist. So what's happening right now is humanity is going through this massive shift of consciousness that basically says we are moving from operating primarily in 3D, which is all about physicality, external, to more into an elevated human, let's call it 5D. And the biggest difference between the third and the fifth is the level of fear that we are holding on to. Now remember, the fear is tied to structures. So if we are moving into this higher vibration where there is less fear, and fear is tied to structures, then what that says is that as we move on to 5D, or to better say it this way, the result of letting go of limiting fear-based structures is what gets us to 5D. So it is only natural that we would now be looking at those limiting structures and asking ourselves this question: is this how I want to live for the rest of my life? And is this how I want to live in this world? And for some of us is yes, for some of us are no way, and for some of us in certain places yes, and in certain places no. Bottom line is, if you asked pretty much any person who lives on this 3D world if they feel there is room for improvement, they always said absolutely yes, because there's always room for improvement. Now, what does it mean when we say room for improvement? A better experience, a higher level of experience, a higher consciousness-based experience. Higher consciousness-based experience is less fear, more love. We are all conduits of love. What does it mean to be a conduit? Well, you are a channel. We are all channels of divine essence, which its highest expression is unconditional love. We are all channels of love. Yet we are not experiencing this love in this world. So if we are not experiencing this love in this world, then that means we are not expressing this love. Now here's the thing, we are channels of it already. So it's within us. If we are not expressing it, it's because we don't believe this is who we are, or we don't know how to express it, or we feel we can't express it, or we have no idea. We have no clarity on how to express it. And when we don't express this unconditional love, I'm going to say it differently. When we don't express this innate essence, when we don't express it, we ultimately hold ourselves back. And have you ever had a dog on a leash and the dog was charging forward and you were trying to stop the dog? The level of exertion that is required for you to fight with the dog that's running and you're trying to stop it is tremendous. In other words, there's a lot of opposing forces that are happening. And it's very tiring, it's very exhausting, and it requires a lot of it's not that it requires, it creates a lot of tension and resistance. Thank you. So when we are not in full expression of our divine essence, then we are resistant to it. We resist it for many reasons. Most of the time, we don't even know that we are resisting it. But at the very basis of this conversation is that each and every one of us is light. And this light is on this planet in order to be expressed. If we are seeing a lot of darkness, then that means that there is not enough light being expressed. Or is it? So you are likely here to express this light on a planet that seems to be quote unquote dark, but she's coming out of darkness. And she's coming out of darkness precisely because people like you, or individuals like you, are learning how to express their divine essence more in this 3D life. And as a result of that, you are becoming much more in unity with this divine essence of yours, which means you are no longer feeling as separate from all that is. You are beginning to feel more at one with everything. Here's the thing. When we are at one with someone, would we want to harm them, or would we want to do good by them? Well, if we are one, then that means what we do to them affects us, and what they do to, and vice versa. What they do affects us too. What we do affects them. Pardon me. Okay. In other words, when we are vibrating in a unified perspective or in a unity perspective, we are much less likely to hurt ourselves. Why? Because we have this fundamental, undeniable understanding and knowing that when we hurt somebody, we hurt ourselves. When we steal from somebody, we are stealing from ourselves. When we are mean to somebody, we are being mean to ourselves. When we are being hurtful to somebody, we are being hurtful to ourselves. Also, the opposite is true. If we are being kind to somebody, we are being kind to ourselves. If we are being loving to somebody, we are being loving to ourselves, because everything that we project comes back to us. And as humanity, collectively, we are learning that right now, that the world is essentially a reflection of who we are being. So if we are looking to become a better society, a more elevated society, then we need to look at ourselves. And that's for each and every individual to do as they see fit. So the idea of wholeness comes up, which is also the heart chakra. As humanity, we are learning how to feel, which is ironic because we are naturally born knowing how to feel. But most of humanity lives in the thinking, not so much in the feeling. And then we process our feeling through our thinking. We don't process it through our body. So we are much more logically inclined and far less intuitively inclined. Of course, if you are listening to this, you are likely someone who feels or is beginning to feel, and you are likely someone who is quite intuitive. You are likely someone who is open. It is precisely why you are here in this world, to help reshape how humanity sees things by being the best version of yourself, because it affects everybody. Remember, what we do to ourselves, we also do to another, and what we do to another, we do to ourselves. So we are beginning to, this is an opportunity for us to learn how to feel. Again, we know how to feel. It's not how to learn how to feel. It's how to learn how to process feelings through our bodies rather than just through our head. And that's because when we what's the word I want to use, please? When we digest our feelings or emotions through feeling, we let go of certain emotional baggage. Emotion is energy. It's you can feel it in the body. Okay? When we are only thinking of it, we're only doing half of the process in terms of letting some things go. And emotional body is very important, because emotions, imagine not having any emotions. You would be a robot. In fact, you are here on planet Earth to have an experience and feel to the fullest capacity. The range of emotions that is available on planet Earth is far, 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 far greater than other species that are living in other dimensions. And I, as Joanna, have experienced this by connecting with beings, and their emotional range is much, much narrow. It's a very different feel. It's loving, but it doesn't have the charge. It's stable. It's just stable. We humans have a lot of ups and downs. It's very raw. But this rawness, if you will, or this sharpness of frequency is precisely why we are choosing to be here on this earth. Because in order to elevate our human consciousness, we have to also be willing to feel. Okay? Why is it important to feel? Because when we allow ourselves to feel, we can release a lot of emotional baggage that keeps us stuck or keeps us in a limited position. So to feel is also to let go. When we allow ourselves to feel, we have a much easier time of letting go. Have you ever cried and then said to somebody, "Oh my God, that cry made me feel so much better," because by crying you released. So we're not seeing here that you need to go home and cry, although if you want to do that, that's what you could do. What we're saying here is that we're looking at our feelings and our emotions, and we are recognizing just how important how we feel is to our evolution. Example, if we feel scared, then that has a certain frequency. When we are scared, we predominantly focus on the physical body, because the fear is generally tied to our physicality, because the soul knows it survives. It's the physicality that doesn't know that. It's the ego. So when we are experiencing a lot of feeling scared, fear, then we focus on the physicality mostly. And when we focus on the physicality mostly, we lose touch with our spirituality. In fact, we have lost touch with our spirituality. Why have we lost it? Because again, something about 10,000 years ago, where humanity collapsed to a much denser level, and it became very 3D oriented. And the 3D orientation is all about the ego. It's all about the body. It's all about the physicality. So we're not really learning how to feel. We are beginning to embrace our feelings and emotions. Okay? And embracing something that doesn't feel good is a challenge, because we have a tendency to push those aspects of us away. When we deny how we feel, we deny aspects of who we are. When we deny aspects of who we are, we no longer feel whole. In other words, what I'm getting here, part of the journey to embodying more wholeness is our capacity to feel. And we all have enormous capacity to feel. It's just that we have not been embracing feeling. We are more inclined towards the thinking. Okay? But it's not the spiritual concept that you think about that allow you to embody more of your divine self. It's the embodiment of, which is a feeling. In other words, to vibrate in the quote-unquote 5D, we have to embrace more of the feeling body, the emotional body. It's not to say that the emotional body is to take over, but it's to bring more of a balance. Now, feelings, as most of you know, or emotions are very creative. If we focus on something and we have a corresponding strong feeling about it, then chances are we will create it. On the other hand, if we don't have a strong feeling about something, then our power of creation is not nearly as strong. So we need the mind and we need the emotion. It's like those two components. Law of attraction. Thinking about something is not enough in order to create it. Thinking with the feeling component is a much more potent creative tool. So in order for us to feel a certain way, we have to learn how to feel. And humanity is not great with feeling. Of course, not everyone, but humanity is not great with feeling. We try to numb our feelings. We try to destroy our feelings. We try to get rid of feelings. We try to suppress our feelings. We do a lot of crazy shit just not to feel. And that's very ironic, because the very thing that we are desiring is about a way we want to feel and experience something. Okay? So we don't experience only cognitively, we experience by embodying. Okay? I'm trying to see if there's an example that I can give me, but I don't know how this connects. They're giving me a very straightforward example. Have you ever felt fat? Well, I have those days. Does that mean that you're fat? Well, if you are, yes, but just because you feel a certain way doesn't make it so. As I was saying, feeling is a very important part of this ascension journey. If you really, 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 really want to know yourself really deeply, you not only want to be okay with how to feel, but also you want to, I want to say learn how to feel, but it's not that you don't know how to feel. It's just, when I say you might be a person who doesn't deal with feelings very well. Again, most humanity doesn't. But I'm not trying to say you don't feel. In fact, I feel that you feel a lot. And that's why you also want to deny some of your feelings, because it's just too much. So if you are sensitive, for example, what we're going through in terms of the feeling, you might be feeling a lot. Okay, so there's two types of people. Well, I'm sure there's more, but there's two opposites. Ones that don't feel or deny feelings, and ones that are overwhelmed because they feel everything. Okay, so that's the sensitives. The ideal would be somewhere in the middle, although the over feeling is a gift and a curse at the same time. If you're very sensitive, well, then you're very sensitive to what's going on, and that's a valuable tool to have. But if you're also sensitive to what's going on, then everything bothers you. So you might be in a space right now, if this is you, where you're trying to figure out your feelings and what they're coming from, but they're actually not yours to begin with. So some of you may be picking up feelings from other people and not realizing that they're not even your feelings, and you're trying to do something about it. So if you're one of those people that feels a lot, just examine, is what you're feeling even yours? Okay, because there's a lot of emotions that are spilling out right now in the world. There's a lot of, like I said, there's a lot of fear going on, and we are beginning to we're transforming through feelings. That's the best way that I can describe it. It's also about being honest with ourselves and seeing things clearly. What does that mean with regards to this wholeness idea? Oh. When we begin to understand ourselves from the perspective of what perspectives we hold, when we begin to see ourselves based on the perspectives we hold, we are then able to recognize our current perspectives, and then change our perspectives into other perspectives, which are also beliefs. So we need to be able to see what our current perspectives are that, for example, don't allow us to feel whole or don't allow us to feel. Okay, you might have a belief that says, oh, you shouldn't be feeling that. Or somebody may say to you, you shouldn't be feeling that. Well, the worst thing you can do to say to anybody when they're feeling something is, oh, you shouldn't feel this way. Well, God damn it, if I had a choice, I would not feel this way. Because when you tell somebody you shouldn't feel this way, what you're saying is how you are feeling is wrong. There is no such thing as wrong feeling. Feeling simply is. It's a magnetic force. Feeling simply is. It's energy. It's a certain quality. It's a certain energy. And just like there's gazillion different kinds of energies, there's many, many, many different types of emotions, feelings and emotions. And to tell someone that they shouldn't feel a certain way is basically saying what you are feeling is wrong. There's no such thing. Okay. Likewise, if you are feeling something and it feels like, oh my God, this feels wrong, or you're feeling something and you believe that somehow you shouldn't feel this way. examine your thoughts and beliefs around the idea of feeling, because feeling exists for a reason. You have a physical body, you have an emotional body. Feeling is part of your world. If you are not allowing yourself to feel, or if you are judging your feelings or if you're judging yourself based on your feelings, then you're limiting yourself. That's how I'm going to put it. How do they limit themselves? Because feeling is not who you are, but feelings helps you understand yourself. So when you allow yourself to feel without the judgment of is it good or bad, then that feeling can present to you some sort of a story. It can tell you your truth if you're being honest with yourself. So not only are we learning how to feel, not only are we becoming more comfortable with how we feel, we are learning that feeling isn't good nor bad. Feeling simply is. Now, if you think about it, pretty much everything we do is because there's a feeling tied to it. If you do something because you want to feel safe, that's a certain feeling. If you do something because it's going to make you happy, that's a feeling. If you want to build a big house, as an example, it's because a big house is going to make you feel a certain way, maybe accomplished, and that's a feeling. You are here to learn about yourself through feeling, and to learn about ourselves is to know more. To know more is to know who we are. And who we are beings that are currently occupying a physical body, but we are so much more than that. And because we are so much more than that, we can express our physicality in much bigger ways. But we first have to give ourselves permission to do so. So just like sometimes we need to give ourselves permission to feel. By allowing ourselves to feel, we are allowing ourselves to be more, to experience more. I just heard, well, what if someone doesn't want to feel a certain way? Okay, that's a very valid question. If someone doesn't want to feel a certain way, then the first question to ask is, why do I feel this way? What in my life is being created that is making me feel this way? And then you're going to have to unpack it, and each individual is going to be different. Because you feel the way you feel for a reason. Okay, the feeling is likely tied to a structure. So if you feel, and I'm going to throw this in, if you feel not good enough, for example, then you have to examine your truths about you and how you feel about yourself. So if you don't want to feel, disempowered, well, then we have to look at the disempowerment structures and what do they serve right now? Because if they were not serving you any, you wouldn't be holding on to these structures. And this is where the power comes in. This is where the truth power comes in. We are looking at our own beliefs and our own structures, and we are realizing that the world that we are experiencing is the result of our inner creation. And that's a big deal, because we are beginning to realize the world is really on the inside, and then it's expressed to the outside. And who has access to your inside? You or I? Well, it surely must be you. How can I have access to your inside? I mean, I could pick into you and see what's going on, but you have the greatest access to your inside. So if you don't know who you are on the inside, you're not going to know, you're not going to understand yourself in your world, not fully. And if you're not going to understand yourself more fully in your world, you're not going to create powerfully. You are going to create less powerfully. And remember, we are moving to a space of creation where we are creating more from the heart space, from the emotion space, and less from just a logical space. Okay, so it's more heart driven than ego driven, although ego is very important and it's part of this equation, but it's more of an equal opportunity now. Emotions and ego, or ego and heart. ego and heart. Okay. Is there anything else? What is our societal liability? So I thought that was interesting because the word liability, the way it was used, I thought, okay, well, that's interesting. What's our liability? And basically what I was told is we are hiding behind old structures. So because this is a collective portion, a lot of humanity is hiding behind old structures. First and foremost, why would we be hiding behind anything? Because hiding behind something on some level ensures our safety, security. So we hold on to things generally for safety and security and comfort. Okay. And as we hold on to these old structures, as we hide behind these old structures, we are afraid, as humanity, we're afraid of new structures. Why would we be afraid of new structures? Because letting go of anything that has been for a long time is a little bit scary because we've learned to rely on it. So a lot of resistance is taking place in terms of letting go of old structures because we've learned to rely on them, and we don't want to give that up. Okay, and reliance can happen on different levels. However, new structures are being implemented, and from what I see, that's not going to stop. That's not going to stop. The world is moving in a new direction, and newness is happening all the time. We can resist as much as we want. At the end of the day, old structures will fall. Don't know when, don't know in what capacity, but old structures will fall. It's just, this is where I see the trajectory. Okay. So if we as humanity are resisting or hiding behind old structures, we need to understand, first of all, what are the structures we are hiding behind? Number one, it's generally for safety and security. And why are we hiding it? Again, usually for safety and security. But we are also in the process of redefining what safety and security is to us and how we come about it. Okay. Now remember, we live in a very scarce place, very fear-based space. 3D is very fear-based space where sense of safety is always being looked at as the priority because we believe that we are finite and that's all there is to us, and the ego is terrified of dying. But we're shifting into these higher frequencies where our understanding of ourselves is that we are more than just a human. So although we are not running forward and saying, here, take me, it's my time, we're understanding that there is life beyond death, if you will, and that makes us far, far less afraid. And in order to realize that there is life after death, we have to look at the structures that tell us what death is. Okay? What is death? Each person has their own idea, and there's various different ways, cultural, religious. I think the basic idea is death is that's something final, but to some people, final means different things than to other people. For me, for example, as Joanna, it is a final point to this particular embodied journey, but then I go on as a soul and I put on a different suit if I want to. Okay, so it's death of the old and birth of the new. And if we knew that on a conscious level, and if we were conscious of it every single day, we would not be afraid of dying. Can you imagine what life would be like if we were not afraid of dying? That's like a cultural shock, because there are so many things that we do that evolves around the fear of dying, fear of getting old, fear of... It's like we're fearing the very thing we believe is going to happen. Well, if we believe something is going to happen, why are we fearing it? That kind of doesn't make sense to me. But I understand. It's because we fear it is because we don't know it. We don't understand it. Although there is many people who have come back from being dead and they tell us pretty much the same story. The idea of death is something that generally terrifies people, right? I'm not saying we should not be respectful of it because, you have a physical body, and once it expires, you in a physical body is no longer. But that's different than believing that you're just going to disappear, or that somehow you're going to be judged or go to hell. That's very different, right? So there's a whole bunch of ideas around fear of dying, not only what happens after, but also what happens after. What if I'm a bad person and I'm going to be burned in hell? Well, I would certainly be terrified of dying if that was the case, knowing that I was going to die and that I was going to go to hell. Holy crap, I would do everything trying to resist dying as much as I can. So when we focus on the dying, we're focusing on the fear. Fear is the very base, low vibration, and it's very dense, and we are shifting from fear, which is the lower chakras, to more of our spiritual understanding, of our spiritual sense. And we are, by embodying more of our spiritual sense, we are becoming naturally less afraid, less fear-based. So this is what humanity is going through right now. Let's go to 3 piles and let's see what you might be expecting coming up for you. What's coming up for you? All right, let's start with the piles. Okay, pile 1, let's see what might be coming up for you next in terms of your priorities. Beautiful. We have a message of new beginning. Okay, let me just show you the rest. We have encouragement, and we have eternal union. New love is forming. Whoa, that is incredible. Okay, message number 1. Obviously, it says new beginnings. And I'm getting a period of about 2 to 3 months. 2 to 3 months, okay? For some of you, I'm getting the month of October. So for some of you, this may have already started, this new beginning, although I feel likely it's going to be something that's upcoming. If you are already in a relationship and it's a brand new relationship, consider that to be your new beginning. But for many of you, it's what to expect. So expect new beginnings. Expect things to go your way. Now, does that mean that everything is going to go your way? What I'm hearing is no, it's not supposed to. Why is it not supposed to? Because sometimes when we want things a certain way, we have no idea how having things our way would not really be aligned with what we are trying to accomplish as a soul. And your soul has a very crystal clear view of you. You, generally speaking, as a human, don't, right? It's because we have ego and our ability to see things is limited, far more limited than that of your soul. But your new beginning is spirit guided. Either your own soul is guiding you towards this new beginning. In fact, for some of you, I feel like your soul is pushing you towards a new beginning, or you're being dragged into some new beginning. Now, when I see this idea of you being dragged into some new beginning, that to me symbolizes that there is a resistance. So you might be experiencing, pile 1, some resistance around a brand new beginning or a brand new opportunity. And I feel it very much at the top of my chest. Why do I feel this? Whoever you are, you seem to be putting tremendous pressure on yourself. And whatever this new beginning represents for you, it's like you're not sure if you're going to be able to do it financially, okay, financially. Or in a marriage, maybe somebody is wanting you to be married to them, and you are experiencing resistance. Whatever these new beginnings are. So, a couple things. A, expect new beginnings, powerful new beginnings. B, for some of you, expect some resistance. Okay. If you are experiencing resistance, and for some of you, you'll feel it very powerfully, you might question, is this new beginning for me? Of course, no one can answer that better than you, which means you have to really know yourself. But from what I feel, the resistance isn't so much that it's not for you. It's more like it's not showing up the way you wanted it. Okay, it's like you've envisioned something for yourself in a certain way, and now it's arriving in a slightly different package, and you're like, I don't think that's for me. What I would do is I would encourage you to look beyond the obvious, because I have a feeling that when you look beyond the obvious, whatever it is that you are obviously resisting, you're going to find yourself on board with whatever this new beginning is. And I keep hearing the word financial. So if you're a pile number one, expect your finances to improve, but they may come in such a way that at first you might be resisting it. Examine your own beliefs about whatever it is that you are resisting. Okay? If you are resisting out of fear because you don't know what's going to happen, well, you really don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. The only reason why you don't question it every day is because you get up every morning and you trust and have faith that everything is going to be fine. So you might be fearing this new beginning because you don't trust that something positive is out there for you. In fact, it's very positive, but it requires you to let go of your limitations. It's like you're keeping yourself in this comfortable position, and you're afraid of letting go of this comfortable position because this other thing, you haven't been there yet. It could be a position, but it's also a structure. So pile number one, you can expect also new positive experiences as they relate to your foundational structure, your belief system. So you likely have been working on your belief systems. You have been looking at your beliefs, which is what we are going through right now, and you have been asking some pretty important questions and coming up with some pretty valuable answers. And because of that, you are in the process of creating change for yourself internally. This change, of course, has to be expressed on the outside. So whatever this beginning is, this new beginning is, especially financial, is directly tied to what you have been working towards, what you have been working on. I don't know, I'm sure you've heard this before, but oftentimes the very thing that we are desiring is the very thing that we are afraid of. I know it can be a hard one to grasp. Here's an example. Let's say you desire fame, just as an example. I'm not saying you do, but just as an example. But your connection to fame is, I'm going to get killed. Now, some famous people have gotten killed, yes. But this connection is likely not coming from this lifetime. It's likely coming from another lifetime. It's likely coming from your ancestors, okay? So, on one hand, you desire fame. On the other hand, you resist fame because it means something, quote unquote, negative to you. Okay. Whatever this new beginning represents, it has to do with your current belief systems about it. Okay. It's also in terms of relationships. Can I have the relationship that I want? Okay. Great question. Another question you might want to ask yourself, if I am resistant to a relationship that I want, why is that? Now, you may not be conscious of this resistance, but If you are not experienced what you desire and you firmly believe that it's going to happen, if you firmly believe that it's going to happen, it's going to happen. But if what you desire on some level you don't believe is for you, then you are in resistance to it. Okay? Perhaps if it's relationship that you want, your idea of a relationship is one of failure. Perhaps you've seen failed relationships and your idea of relationships became one of failure. Of course you are going to resist failure. Everybody wants to resist failure. Nobody wants to fail. But it's your belief system. It's not what the opportunity is, it's your beliefs about it. If it's an opportunity with a lot of money, you might be questioning your ability to earn this money. In other words, explain more, please. You may want a lot of money, but you may not feel worthy of a lot of money. So if it's money, you need to observe your belief systems around money. However you slice it or dice it, expect new beginnings, and these are powerfully charged new beginnings. The type of new beginnings that many of you have been asking for, and now it's time to bring it on. Okay, so I'm getting a period of about 2 to 3 months from whenever you are listening to it. Okay. Even though this is showing encouragement, I feel like some of you are, hang on one second. This message represents you being or feeling encouraged to create something new, to start something new, to perhaps accept this something new. Now, of course, I am not here to tell you what to do. And if there's a new beginning that's presenting itself in front of you, then it's up to you. It's your responsibility to ask yourself, is this the right move for me? And then whatever the answer is, go deeper and ask yourself, is this my fear talking, or is this really how I feel? Because an opportunity may present itself to you, but it may not be the right one for you. But if you don't know you, you're not going to know that. But that's not what I'm getting here. To me, this is you trusting someone who encourages you to trust yourself. Okay. You might be talking to a friend who is encouraging you to face this new beginning. Perhaps you are a little bit afraid of taking a position that's quite more than what you're used to, and you're asking yourself, can I do this? Can I do this? Can I do this? Chances are, if something is presented to you, you can do it. The question is, because I feel like this new beginning is a bit of a test for you, pile number one. Okay, so I have a feeling it's whatever it is you've been asking for, it's going to arrive probably in a slightly different package. And because it's in a different package, you are going to be at first resisting it. So I feel like this is encouraging you to look what's underneath the wrapping paper. In other words, don't judge the book by its cover. This could also mean relationships. You are being encouraged to allow yourself to start a brand new relationship. Perhaps some of you have put yourself on hold in terms of opening doors to a new relationship because you've been scared, and the universe is saying to you, hey, if you don't want to be alone for the rest of your life, maybe you want to open yourself up for others to come and share their lives with you, share their energy with you. And in order for us to be open, we have to be willing to trust. So you're being encouraged to trust the process. And that is, trusting the process. It's all a process. If you have difficulty trusting yourself, you will have difficulty trusting the process. So you might want to connect with someone who can give you an objective I don't want to say opinion. Opinion almost sounds too sharp. Perhaps you can speak with someone who can present to you your situation from a different perspective, so that you can see something you're not able to see by yourself. And perhaps that different perspective is when you go, that is exactly what I need. That is exactly what I want. So, I'm supposed to talk about the pressure you put on yourself. Again, with regards to this new beginning, maybe you're going to feel pressured to have this new beginning. And I'm not saying it isn't for you, but if you feel pressured, then you are going to, if you feel pressured to start this new beginning, then you're going to start it for the wrong reasons. And I feel like it's always going to catch up with you. Whatever you do, whatever magnificent opportunity presents itself to you, make sure you take it, accept it for the right reasons for you, not for somebody else. In other words, don't accept something because someone else thinks you should. Also, don't reject something because someone else thinks you should. Be your own authority. Perhaps shift your perspectives in how you see things. Yes, ask for valuable input, but at the end of the day, you be the judge of your own choosing. Is this the right opportunity for me, or is this the wrong opportunity for me? And this is time to be very honest with yourself, okay? Perhaps some of you will be presented with an opportunity that you've always wanted, but now you realize, I don't know if that's what I want. And what I want to say to you, it's okay to change your mind. If you've always wanted something and now that something has presented itself to you and you're like, I don't know if I want it anymore. And I've seen it all the time. When you shift, your priorities change, your desires change, what you desire, what you want to experience changes. So, you might have desired a certain paying job because you meant job is going to make me feel safe and secure, but you've spent a lot of time cultivating your own inner safety and inner security, and a job comes in and you're like, well, I feel much stronger within myself. I feel much more secure. I don't want this anymore. I want something better. And that's going to be a test for some of you, because I feel like you will be alarmed as to, should I take this or should I not? Should I take this or should I not? And perhaps that's where the resistance is that I feel. Eternal union, new love is forming. So this is pretty indicative that some of you, this new beginning has to do with relationships, okay? Relationships with, I want to say the word soulmate. Does it say here soulmate? No, I don't use terms like soulmate because they're still labels, and I try to get away from labels. But for some of you, the idea of soulmate is going to resonate with you very deeply. So this is showing me that there is a new beginning with regards to a very satisfying relationship, okay? Which tells me, if you have been in relationships that were not to your satisfaction, and you've spent time working on yourself to determine how you are part of these unsatisfying relationships, then the universe is presenting to you a new opportunity, one that is possibly built on a much solid foundation. In other words, in order for you to have this experience, you must come from a different space within yourself. This is also the relationship you have with yourself, yin and yang. You are learning how to no longer suppress either your feminine or your masculine. You are more at union with yourself. And that's the whole idea of wholeness, by the way, that we talked about at the very beginning in the general message. To embody both the yin and the yang makes us feel more whole, because that's we are both the feminine and the masculine. We're both. If we are suppressing one on the other, then we are not feeling whole. So this new beginning also is symbolizing to me new level of wholeness that you are reaching, and you will feel this. This is a resonant feeling within your body, predominantly within your chest. You'll just feel more full. Now, your ego is also going to feel more settled, and in fact, you're going to feel less anxious, less worried. And I don't know about you, but that sounds good to me. Is there anything else? Be okay with where you're at right now, knowing that it is going to change. And for some of you, sooner than you think, or sooner rather than later. And I want to say before March of 2024. So these new beginnings, whatever they may be, which is fantastic, will likely present themselves over the period of, again, next 2, 3, 4 months. Now, for those of you who have not done any work on yourself, who have not done any self-inquiry, who have not faced your shadows, what you are likely to experience is more of the same. Okay, a new beginning, but basically the same thing. And because we are creatures of habit and we create out of habit, habit is a pattern. We create out of habitual patterns. If you have not worked on your own patterns, your psychological patterns, but you are expecting a new beginning, likely what you can expect is something new, but old at the same time. In which case, you're going to ask yourself this question: why am I seeing this again? Why is this showing up in my life again? And this is an opportunity for you to face it. It's an opportunity to face something within yourself that you are either denying or suppressing, okay? And you have real reasons for it. And this new beginning, for those of you, represents a new beginning, but a new beginning that says, hey, I'm here again, I'm new, but I'm the same. And you're like, no, this feels way too familiar. I don't want to do that anymore. And this is when you go, no, thank you. And you walk away. And then the universe says, okay, finally, they got it. Here is more of what you want, because you've said no to the thing that you have been practicing over and over and over again. So this is a beautiful message for pile number 1. And, right in line with a brand new beginning of 2024. If you purchase a session with me, by the way, during the Black Friday promo, you will receive all the 2024 zodiac signs, which are called survival guides. So you'll receive that at no charge. But for those of you who haven't, I will be releasing those by probably the 3rd or 4th week of December. So it'll be interesting to see if your particular signs reverberate with the message that you picked today, that you chose. So that's what I have for you, pile number 1. All right, pile number 2. Let's see what may be coming up for you next. We have joy. I feel like this card came up last time. We have bone collector, and we have astral travel. Okay, I'm going to focus on this first, and this message is to represent what is coming up next for you as a priority. It came up to me in reverse position, or in protection position, or in resistance position. And what this is telling me is that for you, pile number 2, I want to say there is an opportunity or possibility for a lot more joy, but what you want to do first is you want to address how you stand in your own way of either experiencing more joy or bringing more joy into your life. And what I hear is I can't. So in your vocabulary, you have this phrase, I can't. Is there something in your life that you would love to do, but you keep telling yourself that you can't? I'm pretty sure there is many. Okay. Now, I'm not talking about jumping out of airplane, although you could do that if you wanted to. I'm talking about, everyday life. For example, if you're a female, you refuse to wear a dress because you says, no, I can't wear that dress. Okay. Of course you can. No, I can't. Of course you can. Who's going to stop you? Okay. For most of you, you are adults. If you want to wear something, nothing is going to stop you. Now, whether you wear it or not, that's your choice. And if you do wear something, people will have opinions on it, but it doesn't mean you can't wear the dress. You absolutely have the power to do whatever the hell you want. Okay. So this is about exposing your belief systems where you say to yourself that you can't. I can't have this. I can't do something. The whole idea of I can't is basically saying no to certain experiences that you would like to have. For example, this is what's coming through. I can't be happy unless I meet someone. Well, that's your stance on it, but that is not the whole truth. In other words, yes, if that's what you believe, that is going to be your experience, but is that the experience you want? Now, this is just an example, okay? Or I'm not going to be happy unless I have this job. Again, that's your stance on it. That's your belief. They're valid for you, but you are saying no, thank you to a certain job, okay? Or you're saying, you're saying, I'm not going to be happy unless I have this job. What you're saying is unless I have this job in this particular way, unless I have it my way, I'm not going to be happy. And here's what they're saying. Your way is what has been preventing you from experiencing happiness. You're in your own way. You're in your own way. And I just hear, how? Well, what does happy mean to you? Joyful, okay? Define joyful. What is joyful in your life? Joyful happiness, okay? Can I sell you $10 worth of happiness? No, I can't. Can I give you guidance on how you can experience more happiness? Yes, I can. Whether you accept it or deny it or resist it or push it away, that's in your control, baby. That's in your power. So the message here is this. It's quite simple, actually. What prevents you from experiencing the joy that you are wanting to experience? Okay. And if you are putting that something on the outside, then that's going to be very difficult for you to experience joy and happiness. The message here is decide to be happy and then see what happens. Now, I'm sure you've heard this before. I've heard this before a gazillion different times. And when we're in a certain vibration, it's very difficult to just decide to be happy. But if we are not happy, then we are, let's say, miserable, right? Either one, happiness and feeling miserable comes from inside. Okay, we either cultivate one or the other. We either focus on one or the other. So the more we focus on our quote unquote miserable, the more we are in experience of our miserable. Okay, that is not to say that you don't have experiences that make you feel sad and happy. Those are just normal fluctuations of life. But if you are persistently feeling unhappy or you lack joy in your life and it's just persistent, then you want to ask yourself the question, how am I creating my unhappiness? Because there's an opportunity here for you to actually experience real joy, to experience real happiness, but you have to it's like you first have to see how you deny yourself of happiness and joyfulness. Right? And always remember, happiness comes within. That doesn't mean that others don't contribute, that, animals make me happy. I freaking love animals. But if I'm only happy, only if I am with animals, well, I can't be with animals 24/7, which means that my happiness is very conditional based on, something that I cannot control. Okay, that's just an example. There's a distinction that's being made. What makes you happy is also not always what makes you feel solid. Okay, that's interesting. It's almost like they're making a distinction. Happiness and solid, they're two different things. And they're giving me an example. You may be someone who enjoys roller coaster rides and you find that joyful, but there is nothing stable about it. Like, it is as unstable as it gets. That's why we have these feelings, because roller coaster ride is anything but stable. Okay? So what they're saying here is, don't try to make happiness your entire foundation, because happiness is only a part of your solid foundation. In other words, you say to yourself, in order for me to feel solid and safe and secure, I need to be happy. Or I'm never going to feel solid and secure unless I feel happy. Or I'm not going to feel happy unless I feel safe and secure. And they're saying you might want to think about it differently. You might want to think about it in terms of, your sense of safety and stability includes many components. One of them is joyfulness. Okay? If you can find joyfulness in your life, if you can create joyfulness in your life in some way, that joyfulness will add to your sense of safety, stability, and strong foundation. So it's not going to make you feel strong and secure, but it will absolutely add to it. Okay? I don't know why they're showing this to me. Obviously, it must resonate with somebody, even if it's just with one person. But it's like you're connecting joyfulness, happiness with purpose and safety and security. For example, I believe that I am living out my purpose. Am I joyful and happy 100% of the time? No. If I said yes to you, I would be lying. I have my moments. Okay? But just because I don't feel that in certain moments, and some of these moments are very valid, I have a good reason to feel a certain way, sad, for example, those moments don't define my inner strength or stability. They are components of my foundation, but they're not the predominant thing I focus on. Does that make sense what I'm saying? Okay. In other words, to feel happy, you have to choose happiness. And happiness is a choice. Sometimes choosing happiness over misery seems to be difficult. Why? Because sometimes misery is all we focused on. And of course, anything you focus on becomes more of your permanent. So maybe for some of you, you want joy and happiness, but you don't know what it's like to experience that, because you've been out of that experience for such a long time, that what you are currently experiencing is part of your norm. And that's hard to let that go. So pile number 2, redefine your ideas about happiness, because everyone has them. Okay, what makes you happy? Okay, what conditions do you put on yourself in terms of happiness? I will only be happy when, or I will only be happy if. And then see if that is limiting you, or if that is enhancing your, or if that's limiting your experiences, or is that enhancing your experiences? Chances are it's limiting your experience. If you say, I'm gonna be happy only if, you're giving yourself a very rigid boundary, and you're basically saying, unless things go this particular way, I'm not going to be happy. But remember, happiness is a choice. Okay, so that's what's pile number 1. Pile number 2. Bone collector is basically a message that says, throughout many lifetimes you've experienced, throughout the many lifetimes that you have experienced, you've drawn a lot of wisdom from it. And now you're in a position to offer this wisdom to others. Some of you are afraid of it. Why are you afraid of it? Because you don't know if what you have is real. So there is, okay, I'm trying to see how this ties to this happiness piece. I believe many of you, or I feel many of you listening to this, are natural born healers. You may not call yourself a healer. You may even think of me as a crazy lady calling me a healer. I'm no healer. Healing is simply maneuvering energy, okay? But if you're listening to this, I feel that you are likely someone who is born a healer or natural healer, and this is a quality of you. This is a quality that's coming out for you, but you don't know what to do with it. It's like all of a sudden you become aware that you know this different language, but you don't know how you know this language, and you don't know what to do with this language. What do I do with this language? Okay. You don't have to yet know what to do with it other than to accept this new language. Okay. I don't know who I'm talking to, but it's a specific way they want me to deliver this message. Okay. Your predominant feelings surrounding you, pile number 2, is sense of self-satisfaction. So what brings you joy? When you're satisfied with yourself. Okay, I could see that. Talk to me more about the self-satisfaction. They're saying unless they begin to realize their true potential, which includes some of the gifts you've brought with you, it's like you're never going to truly be happy. Here's why. Because if you deny aspects of yourself that are within you, and if you're aware of them, then that means they're meant to be out there. If you deny those aspects of yourself, you are essentially pushing yourself down. Okay, you are denying yourself of yourself, and that will never truly bring you happiness, because when we deny aspects of ourselves, we push it down. We deny it, we push it down, we resist it, and that creates this hole, this empty hole, and then we always try to fill this empty hole with other things. Self-denial is being is showcased in this message. Also, denial of self-satisfaction. Why would you deny yourself feeling satisfied? That doesn't make any sense to me. It's almost like you believe you shouldn't feel satisfied. No, feeling satisfied is somehow wrong. It's almost like you shouldn't feel good about yourself. That doesn't make any sense. And they said, well, not to you it doesn't. To some of them it does. Do some of you have a belief that you shouldn't be too happy, that being too happy is somehow wrong, or being fully satisfied or seeking satisfaction is somehow wrong? I feel like that's what I want to say most for pile number 2. It's like everybody seeks satisfaction because it makes us feel good. Okay? But it's almost like you're denying yourself this satisfaction. It's like you're saying, I can't. I'm not allowed. I'm not supposed to. Be mindful that the not supposed to is an idea you have adopted from your environment. Okay? So if you deny yourself of happiness based on somebody else's ideas, what happiness is or should be or shouldn't be, then you are effectively living your life according to somebody else's rules, not your rules. Pile number 2, this is about looking at your own rules around what happiness is. What is happiness? Different people derive a different people have a different meaning for what happiness is for them. It's both culturally, depending on where you live. People will say, oh, happiness is this, happiness is this. Everybody has their own ideas of what happiness is. Your job, pile number 2, is to ask yourself, what is happiness for me? What is true happiness for me? Perhaps your true happiness is to be outside, facing the sun and meditating. Perhaps that's your idea of happiness. I mean, there are so many different variables that come to it. Perhaps your idea of happiness is to be free, to be who you want, what you want to be, who you want to be. Well, that certainly would be happiness for me. And if that's the case for you, then you'll never be truly happy unless you allow yourself to be fully you. And to be fully you means to no longer deny you. So I see this like a message for those of you who this resonates with. What do you define as happiness? What is happiness? What was taught to you in terms of how you arrive at happiness? What happiness is supposed to be, or what happiness isn't? And look at that and ask yourself, is this still true for me? Perhaps you were taught that the idea of happiness is you get married, you have children, and that's it. That's contentment. And you're like, yeah, that's not for me. And you're caught between what you want and what your society wants you to be, or what, familial conditioning has been. And you are looking at that and you're saying, I don't think I want to live the rest of my life based on what someone else thinks I should do or should or shouldn't be. You are redefining your own concepts of happiness, pile number 2. That's big. Astral travel. It says caution needed. I don't necessarily feel it as something to be cautious of, but what I want to say to you is this. Be mindful who you give your attention to, because people will have many opinions. And by the way, do not believe anything that comes out of Joanna's mouth. Use your discretion and your intuition. It is important for you to realize that some opinions are valid. It's feedback. Some feedback is not productive. Okay? Some feedback is right down damaging. So be mindful who you give your focus to and who you give your attention to. Because I feel like over the next 2 to 3 months, I feel like there's a lot of information coming at you, and you're not sure what you're supposed to do with this information or what is the right information for you. And that's a tricky one, because if you don't know what is the right information for you, then you might make the wrong choice for you. Now, of course, from a higher perspective, there's no such thing as wrong or right. It's an experience. But if we bring it down here, you may make a choice that's not the correct choice for you. It's the one you're not desiring. So be mindful who you give your attention to, because I feel you might come across a lot of naysayers who tell you what you should or shouldn't do, or what belief system you should or shouldn't hold on to. What you do in your life is up to you. Yes, there's consequences to it both ways, but what you do in your life is up to you. After all, it is your life. You are the manager of your own frequencies. And when I say the manager of your own frequencies, you manage your frequency in such a way that it then delivers a certain outcome. Make sure that you are accountable for how you manage your own energies and frequencies. If you run into a wall, for example, rather than saying, why is this happening to me? Ask yourself the question, what is this showing me? Okay, so there's a bit of a self-analysis, I want to say. What is it that I'm seeing? I see you walking blindfolded. You can't see the direction. For some of you, you cannot see the direction, and it might feel unstable and confusing. If you are dealing with confusion over the next 2 to 3 months, particularly when it comes to making choices and decisions, pay attention who you give your attention to in terms of feedback, but I would also encourage you to talk with someone who will be helpful in giving you some guidance on some feedback about your direction. Again, I think I've said this before already, but I feel I want to say it again here. You want someone to help you recognize where you're making your choices from. If you're making your choices from a space of scarcity, then you are just repeating the same scarcity pattern. On the other hand, when you recognize that you are making choices of scarcity and then you shift scarcity into a different foundation, to a different frequency, then you are likely to no longer create your experiences and make your choices from scarcity. You'll be making choices and decisions from a much more empowered space. Okay? So this message is actually telling me to share with you that it's okay to ask for assistance. Go open-minded. Don't go closed-minded, because there's no point asking for assistance if you're closed-minded. But also at the end of the day, you be the judge and jury of what is right for you. Okay? So that's what I wanted to say for you, pile number 2. All right, pile 3, let's see what we have for you in terms of what's coming up next for you. Oh, beautiful. We have sustenance. We have ride the wave, and we have birth of creation, potential growth. Powerful messages. Okay, so let me just tune into each one. Here's what I'm getting from this message. Moving forward over the next 2 to 3 months, or between now and May of 2024, you are going to begin to feel much more solid in your own environment. There's a sense of contentment, dare I say peace, sustenance, obviously, which means you are taken care of. You're good. It's like you're good. You're feeling good. You are not in as much resistance as you used to be. I'm being drawn to this lily flower here, and that's all a sign of birth, rebirth. We have the same word here on this card. I feel that you have just gone through something difficult. So if you haven't, doesn't mean you will, but you probably have gone through something difficult. In all truth, we all have over the last 2 years. I mean, the world's pandemic was and still is difficult in some ways. But you in particular have gone through some treacherous roads where it was not easy, is what I want to say. And I feel very strongly that you are past that energy. So if you are still dealing with some uncomfortable matters, over the next 2 to 3 months, I feel this level of discomfort is going to be alleviated more and more. I feel like you're going to feel like you are being taken care of. They're saying you are focusing on your ego hurting. So what does that mean? When ego hurts, we are in pain. Okay. Why would our ego be hurting? Well, our ego hurts for various reasons. It hurts because, generally speaking, there is some wound or some unfinished business. And generally these unfinished wounds is what makes us live in the past. And I feel like you have done work where you have cut the cords to your past, which generally happens through healing, inner healing, and you are moving on, as they say. In fact, you are at a completion of a major cycle. Okay. For some of you, this is going to be symbolized by a family reunion. I hear the words family reunion. So maybe when you listen to this, you're going to have a family reunion around Christmas, because I am recording this at the beginning, mid-December. And this reunion is going to somehow be like a sign of you coming full circle. So pile number 3, you're coming full circle with some area of your life, and it has to do with achievements, not necessarily physical achievements, although that can be too. So this is showing me that there is presence of having achieved a certain state, a certain desired state, and it has been in the workings, which is very interesting because this feeling is almost opposite of the feeling I had in pile 2. So if you are struggling right now with your version of happiness, you might want to look at pile 2, because I feel like there may be a message in there. It feels like there's a connection there. What I'm also getting is the word opulence. So opulence is plenty. Am I saying that all of a sudden you're going to win $1 million? I hope so. Probably not, but you will find yourself in situations where you will feel much more supported. It's like all of a sudden you feel the universe is supporting you, and lack is left behind. Again, to leave lack consciousness behind, which is to completely get rid of it, and I don't even like to use the word get rid of it, but to completely transform lack takes a lot of time. Okay? But if we can just deal with the bigger lack foundations, then I feel that we're doing a really good job. So many of you are leaving the lack construct behind, and that means in order for you to leave that behind, you would have had to gone into your quote-unquote past in order to see what lack is, what lack you are carrying. And the ego hurting thing that I was talking about is predominantly tied to a lack belief system in terms of what you represent yourself to be. So this is showing me that you feel really good about yourself, or at least this is where you're heading, and it has a certain quality to it. It's soft, peaceful, way less resistant, a lot more solid, but also childlike. There is this childlike innocence. So your creativity is also returning. So if you have been feeling creative block, for some of you, if you have been feeling uninspired, I feel like this is over the next 2 to 3 months, that inspired feeling, or more inspiration, or more creativity, you will feel more creative. It's just that energy is becoming more prominent in your life. So I like this. This is very, very good. Ride the wave is go with the flow, but this one came up in resistance. Okay. Perhaps you are resisting going with the flow. Perhaps you don't know how to go with the flow. When we don't go with the flow, we resist. We always have a reason for why we resist. Generally speaking, we resist because of some fear, I'm going to use the word, that we are holding on to. We're resisting because of some limitation that we are holding on to. And look at this card here. There is no resistance going on here, none. So this is where you're going, okay? But I feel this is what you're addressing. You first, this message is supposed to represent a resistance point. You are resisting yourself. You're in resistance to something. But this is where you're going. So you are where you're going and where you're at opposition with yourself right now. Now, you may not see this yet. You may not see this beautiful energy. You may not feel it. Likely you don't, because this is where you're going. You're likely in resistance. So the question for pile number three is, what are you resisting the most right now? Are you resisting change? Because change is inevitable, and we talked about change in the overall message for the collective. Change is inevitable. If you are resisting change, it's going to be an uphill battle because change is coming. Okay, but you have your foundational reasons as to why you resist change. Discomfort, not knowing what's going to happen, all of these things. But I feel like looking at your resistance offers you opportunity to heal whatever this resistance is attached to. For example, if you are resisting change because you don't know what's going to happen, well, for one thing I want to say is, when you think in terms of what's going to happen to me, you are thinking in terms of life happens to me, I have nothing to do with it. You have a lot to do with how you experience your life, a lot. May not feel that way sometimes, but you do. So recognizing your power in where you're going is really, really important, because let's put it this way. If your expectation of your future is bad, then that's what you're expecting. Then your future is going to show up as in bad, okay? Just as an analogy. If you're expecting your future to be wonderful, chances are there's going to be wonderful things in the future. Does that mean you won't have challenges? No, you're here to have challenges. It's your belief system about what future represents to you, okay? If there's a lot of fear around future, remember that our future fear is projection of what is, okay? So if you have a fear of future, then you have to look inside as in terms of, what is it about this idea of future that I'm afraid of? And each person will have their own story. And it's like you're choosing to look at your story upside down or inside out. You're changing how you view things in terms of your future. Now, of course, we see our future based on what we believe. So this is, again, coming back full circle and asking the question, what do you believe? And the future that we will experience lies in our hands, collectively speaking. Your future is also in your hands. How? Well, there's no such thing as past and present, or past and future. There's only present. In other words, the more you are hanging on to a certain belief in your now moment that is rooted in the past, the more you are experiencing or creating based on that belief in the future. So if you want your quote-unquote future to be abundant, as an example, we have to look at your beliefs around abundance, okay? But because this is where you're going, because I already see that and you're on the way there, chances are you're already doing the work, you're already doing the dirty laundry, as they say, and you already are in the process of facing all these things that I just talked about. Birth of creation, potential growth. Can I say it any differently? I think I would be just repeating myself, but I'm going to do it anyway. You're at an end of a cycle. We all know it. There's a potential for a new beginning. In fact, I already see it. Okay? You may not see it yet. Take this opportunity, take this time to really get to know yourself. Because in the knowing yourself is where your power is. Okay? As you already know, you're a powerful being. Your potential is enormous, and your potential is only limited by what you think and what you believe and what we are holding on to in terms of structures. Okay? As you approach this new beginning, which I believe this is what that is, some things may come up for you. You know the saying, it's the darkest before the dawn? I'm not saying you're going through some dark night of the soul. You probably already have. But what I'm saying is, before you experience this beautiful energy, you're likely are going to be looking at some things in order to recognize where you have been shortchanging yourself. Okay? Where you have been limiting yourself, where you have been standing in your own way. If this is representing to me a lot of sustenance and abundance and stability, then that tells me you're not here, you're not there yet. You're coming from a different space. You're moving towards it. And as you move towards it, or I'm going to say it differently, this is representing where you're going, which means it's not here yet. This is showing me that the reason why you will be experiencing this is because that this first needs to happen. You questioning your beliefs, you questioning your limitations, you questioning your thought patterns, your thoughts, you questioning your reality. What is real to me? Even what is happy to me. And you're identifying how you stand in your own way. I'm getting a lot of pressure in my chest, upper chest and throat. So for some of you, this will be healing around your heart and your throat. And there is green and blue, so I identify that with the throat and the heart. Okay? There's something I'm being shown, but I can't quite pick it out. I will say this. For some of you, you just need the good old plain fun. You just need to have some fun in your life. I see some of you playing competitive sports, but it's not for competition, it's for fun, but it's competitive sports. So I don't know who this is going to be for. It's probably a really good activity for you to have. It does many things. It allows you to create some diversion in your life from mundane, but it also allows you to practice your skill, and you may actually get involved with something that allows you to practice a certain skill, a skill that you don't often use, but when you do, you love it. So this could be a hobby, this could be anything that I just feel this happiness. It could be, I'm seeing soccer, that's one way of expressing it. Expressing a certain skill that makes you really happy, but you don't necessarily make this skill something like a job. Okay, it's more of a fun activity or hobby, and that's going to make you feel more lighthearted. I just feel like you need a lot more fun in your life. Now, incidentally, this guy, this Ganesha, is he having fun? I think he's beyond fun. I think he's got everything. He's got all of these beautiful feelings wrapped in one. He's content. And to me, does contentment include happiness? Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Joyfulness, happiness, all of it. It's a really soothing, it's like a very balmy, soothing feeling that I feel with you, pile number 3. Is there anything else that I want to say to you, pile number 3? No, I think that's all I have. So this is over the next 2 to 3 months, whenever you hear it. I hope this was helpful. This is definitely something to look forward to. I look forward to seeing you next week. If you would like to know when my 2024 zodiac signs come out, you can just click on the link down below and sign up for my newsletter, and I will be connecting with you, or I'll also we'll post it here on YouTube. Thank you so much. Have yourself a wonderful day. Please comment, share, like if you feel inclined to do so. And I look forward to seeing you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.